My ever-expanding attempts to turn my music studio setup into something that is perfect for my needs, which seems to be somewhat of a snipe hunt. I went out yesterday and purchased a couple of things. First of those things was this. What is this, you ask? This is the Universal Audio Twin X Generation 2. I have had the Universal Audio Gen 1, I guess it's called now, Twin X. You know, this has been out now for a few months. I feel like this is a good purchase because I have now a Universal Apollo 8. A Universal Audio Apollo 8. It's over there. It is one of the first ones that came out. It has 4 unison preamps and 4 other line inputs, as well as ADAT, etc., etc. The nice thing about these Apollo units is that you can chain them all together so they work kind of as one unit within their console software. The biggest problem I've had with the Universal Audio 8, Apollo 8, is it sits in the rack space on my desk, which is over here out of arm's reach, and that's where the volume is. Which is not to say one thing or the other, but I have to reach over to do the volume. And it only has 4 preamps, and I need more than 4 preamps. I have this plugged into a preamp all the time. I have 2 other microphones plugged into a preamp all the time. And I have a guitar line 8 high Z input thing plugged into a preamp all the time. And that's all my preamps. And I want to plug more things in. So I have this. It is a Thunderbolt audio interface. This is the UAD Essentials pack. Is that even like UAD Essentials pack? It says sound of your favorite records, get the rich analog tones heard on decades of classic albums with powerful collection of UAD plugins and instruments. So you have to register this thing, and Universal Audio has like 1 million plugins that are all pretty much modeled after pieces of gear of the past. They sound really good, and all the ones that come with this I already have because I have bought many Universal Audio interfaces. So the Essentials thing doesn't matter to me. And even the Studio one that costs $200 more, I didn't need because I have most of those things because I've bought many Universal Audio interfaces. So let's get into the thing itself. It has a nice diagram here somewhere. Yes. It has 2 mic line inputs. These are unison inputs, which means that whenever you put something that has a unison plugin, so unison plugins are different than regular plugins because they interact with the microphone preamps to change all kinds of different things, mimics the piece of gear that it used to be. It's a special thing that Universal Audio has had for a long time, and for a long time it gave Universal Audio kind of a leg up in the whole game. But it's got 2. They're really good microphone preamps on their own. Maybe they're better now than they were in the others. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a shootout later and we'll find out. 2 mic inputs, monitor output, line output, Thunderbolt port, locking jack, power button, optical input. One of the ways that they make these lower in the line interfaces so that you have to buy their more expensive interfaces later is that they give you 1 optical input so you can add 8 more channels, but you can't daisy chain more so that you can get like 16 channels or I guess 18 channels. They don't give you an input and an output. So anyway, you can put up to 8 more channels of preamps in here, and there are a lot of ways to do that. That's another story. It also has an SP diff. SPDIF is what we call it. So you could do like 1 digital preamp or something like that has a SPDIF input output that goes both ways. Okay, so that's what's on the back. On the front, we have various buttons and preamp and monitor, and then various lines of information about what is happening on the interface itself. So you can toggle through these in a different way. If you plug something into the front instrument input, it will automatically turn to high Z, and that takes over channel 2, I believe. So let's get it out of the box. There we go. And there it is. Universal Audio usually follows Apple on their different colorways. This we see is back to a sort of matte anodized silver. The previous UAD interfaces were a more of a space gray, but space gray has gone by the wayside. Anyway, here we are. We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buttons on here. If you hit this button, it goes between monitor and headphone. And if you hit this button, it switches between the preamps. And then this will switch between input, talkback, dim, etc., etc., etc. There's lots of multi-functions. Each button pretty much has like 2 functions. There's a talkback mic under this piece of plastic. It's funny because they give you a talkback mic on a unit that obviously is made for a single person to use it. So why you need a talkback mic, I don't know. But I think it's just one of those things that they can put on. It's probably pretty cheap to put it on. And it's a selling point. So that's cool. Here we have big fat rotary knob. This is a continuous rotary knob. Doesn't have a start and stop thing. And that's because it has multiple functions. It's a nice knob. It's a big knob. And I do wish it had slightly more resistance. The volume knob on the interface that I have right now is detented, which I tend to prefer. Detented is like, so it goes dit, 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 like that. And so you know like how many clicks you've gone, but this one doesn't do that. Now I've got all the little plastics off of it. And as you can see, this dial has multiple functions. If you hit this, it'll turn orange and it'll show you all of the volume for the headphone. If you hit it again, it goes back to monitor and it's green. Same thing for a lot of these different things. And again, like I said, on the back, optical, lightning, power, 2 line outs. So you can plug in your main set of monitors here and a secondary set of monitors here, or you can send this out to another source if you want to do that. And then you've just got your 2 inputs here. So this gives me in total 4 of these mic preamps, 12 individual outputs, and also 4 line inputs. So that should be more than enough for little old me. Underneath, this is all sort of honeycombed and open because this thing gets hot and there are lights inside that you can see. On the front, you've got 2 jacks. You've got instrument jack, you've got headphone jack. You plug an instrument in here, it takes over channel 2. Channel 2 is then dead back here, and you can only do the instrument thing. You unplug this, and then this is back in service. One thing that I've always hoped would be the case is that you could switch that somehow, either on the unit itself or in the software, but can't do that. I saw somebody complaining about having to register their physical hardware with the company, as if that was something that hadn't been done for a decade or more now. The days of just like keeping yourself to yourself are over. You have to register. So you've got the start URL there, and then it downloads the software, and then on-screen setup instructions, and if anything goes wrong, they've got a help website there. Usually nothing goes wrong. It's a pretty seamless process. So you have this. Inside the box, you also have your power supply that comes out of there, and then you have your power cable that comes out of there. You don't have really much anything else. That's kind of all they give you, and for the most part, that's all you need. However, and again, another bone of contention among consumers on the internets, you don't get a Thunderbolt cable. You just don't. They don't give you one. Now, they're like, hey, why don't you give me a Thunderbolt cable? The reason they don't give you a Thunderbolt cable is because they don't know how much Thunderbolt cable you might need. And Thunderbolt cables, unlike USB-C charging cables or something like that, can be kind of expensive. So you have to buy one, but usually you just go, you can buy one and it's like the right length. Imagine people buying something that is an appropriate length of cable, and if they gave you one, they'd probably give you like one, a 1 meter, which is fine. I mean, I got a 1 meter here. That's fine. That'll work for me. But maybe you need 2 meters, at which point you would have to buy a 2 meter cable. I've been getting these Cable Matters cables from Amazon. They're pretty good cables. This is a Thunderbolt 4 cable. Pretty good cable. I think this was $20, something like that. I'll link it down in the description. The prices change all the time. But if you bought this 1 meter cable, Apple's selling a 1 meter Thunderbolt 5 cable now for $70. No, I wasn't going to buy that. So anyway, I've got this 1 meter Cable Matters cable. You just have to buy the Thunderbolt cable yourself. That is the Universal Audio Twin X Gen 2 out of the box. I will do some setting up and putting it through its paces, and I'll let you know what I think about it. The nice thing is I know what this is. I have purchased these things before. There are some differences. This has some sort of like gain setting feature that, as an old person, I don't really want the device to set the gain for me, but it does have some new bells and whistles. It does have some improvements over previous models, of course. If you have any Universal Audio Apollo interface, you don't need to get this. If you're looking for a 2-channel interface with some bells and whistles that go along with it, if you're looking for something that's good quality and you're a solo creator who needs to have more than just plugging a microphone in and getting a signal to wherever you're trying to go, this gives you a lot more options. It might be more expensive than some, but it's more feature rich as well. So this is worth checking out. If you have any questions about this, links to all these things will be down in the description, including the Cable Matters cable. Everything will be down in the description below. If you'd like to see me do a video where I kind of walk through the setup of this, let me know and I will tell you how to do it, because I've bought and sold these things millions of times. Anyway, if this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. If you want to come back again, then hit the subscribe and bell notify and all that kind of stuff, and like the video. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate the support of my community. If you want to support the community a little bit more, there are channel memberships available down below. And here in January of 2025, I am planning some new stuff for channel memberships that will include probably some videos that other people don't get to see, as well as some time conversing and asking me questions on a Discord or something like that, and maybe even more fun stuff than that. I'm still planning it. Anyway, thanks so much for being here. Until the next time, I'm out.